Hi Stampers, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. I have an exciting project to show you how to create today. This is called an accordion moving card fold. And the reason it's called a moving card fold is because this unties in the front and there's your accordion. So you can actually sit it open and then have this pull out. And I have, excuse me, I have balloons out here and on the bottom and a couple messages, and then you can also write in on the white squares. So let me get you started on what you'll need for supplies. For stamp sets, we're going to be using balloon builders, party wishes, and party with cake. And all three of these stamp sets can be found in the Occasions 2016 catalog. And I've gone ahead to save time and stamped all of the balloons and cut them out. So these are all the pieces you're going to need for the card. You need 2 Bermuda Bay and 2 white pieces measuring 2.5 by 1 1/8. You need 3 Bermuda pieces measuring 2.5 by 1 3/4. And the balloons, I have 7 that I stamped, so you can use whatever colors you want. And I have 1 in Tip Top Taupe cardstock and 1 in Crust Curry cardstock. So the ink colors that I used for my balloons are Crust Curry, Melon Mambo, Mint Macaron, and Bermuda Bay. You are also going to need a 16-inch piece of ribbon, and I'm using the stitched ribbon that comes in the Occasions 2016 catalog, and it's in the Bermuda Bay color. For cardstock, you need Crust Curry, and this is the card base. Measures 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the center at 5 1/2. It's my party designer paper. We need 3 different pieces with 3 different patterns. This one is 12 inches by 2 3/4 inches. I do have all the scoring measurements here, but I'll list them and I'll show you how to score as we go. The next 2 pieces measure 4 by 3 1/2, which is the striped one, and 4 by 1 3/4, which is the one with the balloons. And the last piece you'll need is 1 more piece of Bermuda Bay measuring 3/4 by 4 inches. Now let's move on to the tools. You'll need tear and tape, a 1/4 inch handheld circle punch, the Lots of Labels Framelits dies, and I'm using the largest size, bone folder, and for punches we need the 1 3/8 circle punch, 1 3/4 scallop circle punch, and the balloon builder punch. So let's get started on today's project. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my card base and fold it down with my bone folder, and we are going to glue the 2 pieces of designer paper. I just ran out of adhesive, so let me pop another one in here. So this is going to go at the very top, and make sure you leave the same spacing around all 3 sides. And the smaller piece is going to sit on the bottom. And it doesn't matter when you cut your pieces of paper if they overlap each other or if there's a small space there, because this piece of Bermuda Bay actually sits in between. Okay, so that's the beginnings of the card base, so we'll set this aside. Now I'm going to bring in my paper cutter so I can score the longer piece, And we're going to start by scoring at 3 inches. Let me bring that down a little bit. So 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, and 9. And now you're going to fold, and you're going to fold mountain fold and valley fold, so opposite. Take your bone folder and press down to flatten all of the scores. And if you decide you would rather have a different pattern, you can just reverse the folding process. Now I just need to make sure these are all even. And now I'm going to bring in my Big Shot machine and the Lots of Labels die. And what we're going to do is cut the shape to the top of our tag. So let me bring this in. And I'm going to be cutting both layers at the same time. So when you place this on here, make sure it's nice and flat. Center the die so that both sides are equal, because I did cut my designer paper just a tad shorter. Okay, that looks good right there. And then we're going to run it through the machine. And because the designer paper is shorter than the die, it does not affect the folds that you just created. So let me move this over. And now we're going to bring in the handheld punch. And we're going to create a hole at the top of the tag. So now you have the accordion part of your card all created. Now we are going to decorate the inside. So I'm going to bring this over. And I want to make sure I have the correct one because there's a little bit of green show. So I'm going to use this side. Open it this way. And I'm going to use one of the larger Bermuda Bay, and that's going to go right on top. So that one's going to go right here. And then I have the white. And the smaller Bermuda Bay. And I already have glue on the back of these two pieces because I had started out by using all Bermuda Bay and I thought it was too much and I needed some white in there. So these already have adhesive on the back. So I'll glue those in place. And we'll need one more white. So as you can see, these do assemble quite fast once you have all your pieces cut out. And one more of the larger Bermuda Bay for the bottom portion. And now we're going to do a little bit of stamping with the Bermuda Bay ink. And I'll show you which of the stamp sets as I stamp each one of these. This is the Happy Birthday. And that one is from the Balloon Builders. And I use the small size balloon with the punch for all of my balloons on today's card. The next one I'm using says Calories Don't Count Today. And that's from Party with Cake. And so is the Sending Wishes Your Way. So I'm using the next two are from that stamp set. And that is also going to go on the Bermuda Bay cardstock. And number 3. And now I'm going to add a little bit of confetti on the white. I just felt it needed a little something there, and there's still room to do some writing. And I'll use Melon Mambo on this one. And crushed curry on this one. Now all we need to do is glue the balloons in place. So on my top one, I had the Tip Top Taupe, the crushed curry, and the mint macaron. I'm just going to use liquid glue to glue those in place. And I'm just gluing everything on the inside here is glued flat so it doesn't cause any more bulk than we already have. So there's my first balloon panel. On my next one, I'm going to use the crushed curry, Melon Mambo, and Bermuda Bay. Okay, so that completes the inside. Now we're going to fold this closed, and we're going to do the front, which requires just a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to bring in a piece of Whisper White, and I'm going to use the Make-A-Wish from the Party Wishes stamp set, and that's going to be stamped with Melon Mambo. And we're going to cut that out with the 1 3/8 inch circle punch. We also need a scrap piece of the crushed curry to cut out the scallop circle. And I'm using stamping dimensionals to layer these together. And I'm also going to add dimensionals to the mint macaron and the crushed curry balloons. So now I'm going to layer the stamped portion to the crushed curry. We are going to glue the last piece of the Bermuda Bay, and that's going to go on the front . And then we're adding glue only to half of the back of the scallop because I want some of it to peek out. And that leaves room for the balloons. That's why I did that. Glue on the Melon Mambo balloon. And then the other two are layered. Sorry about that. I had to pause for a little bit because my phone rang and I had a very important Stampin' Up! Customer to tend to, so that was worth it. Okay, now all of our pieces are assembled on the accordion. All the stamping is done. Now we're ready to glue it to the card front. And what I did to mine is I added a piece of tear and tape on the back, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm just going to add a small piece, and I'm adding it right in the middle. And I'm not going to remove the backing just yet. Oops, I grabbed the spool rather than my piece of ribbon that was pre-cut. What you're going to do is thread this through the hole. Make sure it's flat. Okay, that was phone call number 2. Sorry about that. So anyway, we're going to thread this through the hole. Make sure it's flat. Flip it over and bring it towards the front. And then, I should have said put it through both holes because this needs to be towards the front so we can tie it into a bow. So now you bring this bottom one up to the top, tie a bow. So it's almost like you're making a separate piece and then we're gluing it to the card when we're done. Make my loops a little smaller. And then I'm going to bring my scissors in and just snip the ends. And now this is where I flip it over and you see the tape is right below the ribbon. I don't want my ribbon to move. And the reason I didn't glue it first is because I wanted to make sure the length was correct for tying the bow. So now I would move this over a little bit, remove the backing. and press it in place. We're also going to add a couple strips across so we can glue it to the card. So I've added 3 pieces there. I'll bring in my card and remove the backing. And now all we have left to do, whoops, can't seem to get that one, is place this on the front of the card. And I did place mine so a little bit of the Bermuda base shows. It kind of makes the designer paper pop. Press that in place and your card is complete. And here's the one that I did that's untied so you can see what that looks like. I'll have pictures at the end of this video. I'll have the supplies and I'll have a link to my online store. I hope you try one of these cards. They are a lot of fun to create. And once you have everything cut out, they're really quick to make. Thanks so much for visiting and have a good day.